Does anyone else have crippling depression?
Yeah,
Yes.
how did you know?
Oh, the context of that is going to be totally lost when it comes time to put that on YouTube.
There's context for that? What was the
And
context?
You were just saying, like, we were waiting for Bird. We won't want Bird to say anything funny. And then I
Oh.
start the podcast with the least funny thing I can think of.
Oh.
That was probably the opposite of what you were saying before, though.
I thought that
think
was
so.
just like a
All right,
what do you call
welcome.
it?
Four
What do you
nerds,
call it when
save
it's
the
completely
universe.
random humor that comes out of nowhere?
Anti-humor.
No, like
Four
the,
nerds, save the universe. God damn it, I'm trying to get this rerailed.
Welcome to Podcast 22.
No,
We're
you
here
do it.
with
Fine.
Colonel RPG, our first guest ever, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause- yeah.
We haven't had
I
random
am
changing
honored.
guest people since like before the previous podcast even. Like wait,
That's right.
I was the only one
original
when I was
four-episode run.
Yeah, when I was doing the Let's Play podcast, I was like doing constant guests. That's exhausting,
Yeah.
and I never want to do that again.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like, well, we could talk about anything, but instead we're going to interview this person.
To organize somebody every single week.
Well, it
Yeah,
wasn't
really.
just somebody; it was everybody but me. And so, like, I had to.
Oh,
I had
that's
like a list
wow.
of like a couple hundred people,
I
and I had
forgot
to
you ran a
cycle them out and
podcast.
stuff like that.
Shit.
Yeah,
forgot
that's
you ran
why
a
the
podcast where you were the only cast member.
Yeah, and I would cycle people out and stuff like that, which was cool, but I had a list of like a couple hundred people that I had to pick from, but also had to like kind of vet them, you know, how long they've been doing it, what's their quality, stuff like that. So it's effectively Unsucky Sunday, but you're actually making a video with them as opposed to just reviewing their stuff later. And so it was a nightmare, especially because it was kind of the thing that Keith, you had done like a podcast with two new Let's Players and like kind of coached them on how to Let's Play, right?
Yeah, they both gave
Yeah,
up and didn't make it
exactly.
very far. It feels really
So-
good.
Everybody
gonna
from
say-
those podcasts pretty much just quit, and I was just like, well, this is kind of pointless.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted some of that coaching, but then maybe I don't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't
Yeah,
go
probably
great.
not.
Well, the coaching was not the reason why they quit. The reason why they quit was just because they weren't committed enough.
The hard reality I
Right.
tried to give is just the fact that there's a lot of dedication and luck involved, and that proved true.
Yeah,
Yo,
it-
so yeah,
So
Colonel
our guest is
RPG
Colonel
is here.
RPG,
Why don't you...
Colonel being like
Yeah,
the
talk about
military
yourself.
position, not like the operating system or the inside of a food thing. Your guess is what kind of content he covers on his channel as a Let's Player is...
yeah.
Well,
It's
most
a lot
specifically,
about-
it's
Oh,
like
I know.
mostly
Rocket propeller
CRPGs,
grenades.
right?
Yeah, complete computer role-playing games. Yeah, mostly Western
I thought it
stuff.
was. I thought CRPG was classic, not.
Well, it stands. I guess you can make the acronym for whatever, but I think
Console.
it mostly stands for computer role-playing game because it came from the distinction between the normal role-playing games, which is the pen and paper, I guess.
Oh, yeah, your D&D.
Yeah, you're right.
And-
it is.
yeah.
Good
It is.
point.
It is computer role playing game, and the first one was Ultima. At least,
Yeah, it's just
labeled
sort of
as such.
a catch-all
Oh, yeah.
for that whole
What do you
like
know?
isometric point-and-click style
Yeah, I
RPG.
honestly hadn't thought about that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the history of RPGs in computer is actually a little bit complicated to define. I think the first one usually is Akalabeth, I think in 1972 or something like that. It was the first
Oh,
person.
he's good. Oh,
yeah.
oh,
just-
you've got a good guess.
Yeah.
What are you checking? I'm not checking.
No, just keep going.
Are you in
Just
the
keep
middle
talking.
of fact-checking him or something?
No.
But feel free to
Just-
though.
He's teaching me things. I'm learning.
I think
Yeah,
Bird
it's-
has
it's-
a new favorite.
Yes.
It just evolved over the years, and it took a little while to start. I guess as video games did in general, but isometric role playing games are not that old, all things considered. People tend to think that it's old technology. Well, in comparison to the first computer role playing games, I think it's actually quite innovative and stuff like that. But I guess these days I play a little bit of everything.
Okay. Before
Yeah.
we go too much further, you're Portuguese, or
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
I was like, you have an accent, and it's definitely not
Yeah.
not from American.
It's-
Yeah.
No. I was born in Portugal. I live in Portugal. Never left the country, basically.
You haven't even left Portugal? Not even to
Probably
travel?
a little bit to Spain every once in a while, but it's just
Wow.
like a couple 100 miles away. Not much, yeah. Unfortunately, I would like to travel though, but it just hasn't presented the opportunity, I guess.
So I went on your channel to see what you were like, and I saw that you're playing Stardew Valley. Would you say that Stardew Valley is an RPG?
No, he's got the RPG mod on, so he levels up.
Is there a level? Oh, I see.
That's actually a Stardew Valley skin for Fallout 2.
He romances the girl that lives in the trailer plus one sex appeal. No.
Yeah. No, I guess he doesn't go for that. He's not a pen. Okay. Who are you romancing in Stardew Valley then?
I think it's Abigail. I think it's Abigail, yeah. She likes chocolate cake. Who doesn't like chocolate cake?
Yeah, she eats rocks. She eats quartz.
She does.
That's what she likes.
I gave her a diamond. Just, I was hungry. Yeah,
never-ending story.
Yeah, I play a little bit of everything, though, kind of centered on role-playing games, sure, but like I have Heroes of Might and Magic, the strategy game, but...
I love those games.
I suck at it so much. People just keep telling me. I'll bet I am bad.
My favorite part of Heroes of Might and Magic is that I think it's the one strategy game I've ever played that mimics real life the most, in that if you're playing Heroes of Might and Magic and you randomly spawn on top of a gold mine, you win.
I was about to bring that up because like it has the civilization issue where you kind of want to keep re-rolling the dice on spawning your world until you get a good spawn point, and that massively changes the entire game.
I give that game a hard time because I really do have a soft spot for it, but it is so broken in so many different ways.
I'm playing the third one though, and I'm playing the campaign as well. Never played the skirmish mode.
You've missed a lot of what makes that game
unforgiving.
Broken. So the campaigns are actually pretty fun in Heroes of Might and Magic, but I played a lot of the skirmishes back in the day with my friends, and it was just like, oh great, you spawned on top of like your primary resource and a gold mine, so you're like tier 4 already, and I have I have a dude.
So pretty much our experience with Stellaris then.
Yeah, you quickly realize why all the popular RTSs clearly spawn you in a cookie cutter base with the same like crystal and Vespine gas things and whatever that are just always there.
Yes.
Because when you randomize it like any like 4X game, for example, it's just like you can just lose because of the first second of the game.
Yeah, that's very true. That's why probably there's a lot more of a competitive scene for StarCraft than there is for Civ 4, for example.
Although the randomization makes for a more interesting game than... sort of the canned
I would
stuff.
rather watch a StarCraft game than I would ever watch a Civ game.
No,
personally.
Yeah. Within their genres and pacings and stuff, but that's kind of a symptom of different stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's interesting. For a long while, I knew about StarCraft competitive gameplay, but I never watched anything. And I know how to play StarCraft.
Now you're a Let's Player.
Well, it's just the transition, I guess, from somebody that plays video games to somebody that plays them on the internet is a funny story, I guess. But when I watched my first competitive StarCraft game, it's really close to watching sports game in any other sense. But you don't really get that impression without actually watching it, which is interesting.
Absolutely. Like I felt that way. The first esports game I ever watched was Dota 2. And it totally like clicked instantly why it's called esports, because especially if you're watching with like a big crowd, it has the exact same emotional highs and lows that you get as a spectator of an actual sporting event.
Yeah, I totally see that. I guess it depends on the game to the extent where you get that, but StarCraft is really good for that. No wonder it got so popular in Korea. As an esports game, I guess.
I've watched a little bit of competitive StarCraft 2. I haven't seen any competitive StarCraft 1 except for like a GIF here and there. But StarCraft 2 it's exhilarating. You know, if you get really into it, you're like, oh my god, every single moment is like so intense, and you're so with it.
Yeah, it's a strategy game in the middle of it all. Yeah. So.
It's kind of like watching Wander play Slime Rancher. You're just like, oh my god, he's going to get that pink slime. He's going to get the shit out of that slime. Oh no, the slime jumped over a wall.
He totally missed that lucky slime on episode 6. No!
Dude, I actually got a message the other day, like, being really harsh on me for, like, my decision-making in Slime Rancher, and I'm like...
Yeah.
What?
Listen, I've gotten those comments for Sonic the Hedgehog and Alone in the Dark 2008.
I got
you can
them
play
in
terrible
Stardew
games
Valley.
no one should be defending, and they'll still be like they'll be criticizing your micro.
Yeah, bird/RPG in like the first spring. There's like one kind of secret crop that you can get from like the festival. Was it like strawberries or something?
You get the strawberry seeds from the festival.
I saw them and I was like, I don't have enough money and I don't have any like field space, so I'm not going to bother. And like very consistently, that was something people were just absolutely like just shaming me for.
Because all they gave a shit. They didn't give a shit until they like heard like this is what you can do. Because like nobody. You don't know that's there when you play Stardew Valley unless you're reading the wiki and like heard about it ahead of time. Because there's no indication there's going to be this extremely expensive crop on day 8 that you can only get once a year, and it's really valuable the next year. And that's all the ammo you need.
Wait a minute,
you're not supposed somebody.
You're not supposed to plant it in the first year, because that's what I did. I got lucky enough.
You're definitely not supposed to plant it in the first year. You fucking noob. I can't fucking believe you. Get the fuck off my podcast.
It's like when someone loads up like my part 1 of my Zelda playthrough 2 months after release, and I was like, oh my god, what's wrong with you? You're going past all the secrets. And it's like, you're supposed to learn over the course of the next like 100 hours what those secrets look like in that game.
Mm-hmm. But no, what you're supposed to do with the strawberries is if you plant them the same year, you aren't getting because you're planting them with only 3 weeks left in the season.
That's right.
So you're actually like cutting down on your total amount of profit, which you would know if you weren't a fucking moron.
Yeah, I just saw them. I wanted strawberries. But then they didn't give me a kitchen yet, so I can't make them with. Nah, it doesn't matter. Got all these recipes and I can't make them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but
so what made you start your channel, Colonel RPG?
Oh, it's a long story. It's got I guess there's a lot of aspects, I guess, but the main one is that I love role playing games, and there's not a lot of YouTubers doing role play games.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, not just the big ones, I guess. I'm currently enjoying a lot The Witcher 3 on stream though, but doing highlights for YouTube. But old stuff like Fallout 1 and 2 and I don't know, just stuff like that, like The Age of Decadence, the indie games, indie RPGs, I guess, that barely anybody covers, but that I just have a heck of a time with it, and I saw an opportunity. Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoy a lot of those early like Black Isle titles.
Yeah.
And just so many of those RPGs in the computer back then, like Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment. That was one of my favorites. God, I love that game. Fallout 2, like you mentioned, was actually one of the first games of that genre I ever played.
Yeah, me as well.
It was great. I think my favorite part of Fallout 2 was the very first thing I did was sequence break the shit out of that game without even knowing it. I just went straight south from the town, and I wound up in
Probably
the
Reno?
Enclave. I wound up in the Enclave base.
That
was the very first place I went to, and I got like the best equipment in the game within the first like 10 minutes of the world map opening up, and I was like, well, this is a good game.
That's definitely really cool when a game just lets you do stuff, though. Like Zelda,
it's a beautiful thing.
I have 46 episodes of Zelda, and I haven't met Impa, which is the first objective you get after the tutorial.
That's the mark of a good game.
It's
Because
great.
you could just go do stuff. It's great when that kind of option's given to you. It gets messy though in a game like Wasteland 2, where they're trying to recapture that kind of stuff, but then the game can genuinely break itself if you don't follow its quests like note to note. Sometimes was your first playthrough Neo Scavenger on YouTube?
Yes, my first episode was Neo Scavenger. I just love that game. It's another indie. It's almost. I don't know if you can call it an RPG. I guess it's got a little bit of that. But I saw it on Splattercat's channel, and I found it through there, and I was like, I want to play this game. And
I tried playing that game, and just for the life of me, I could not.
What was it? The cats?
Oh no, there's Dogman, I think.
Yeah, Neo Scavenger is like
that Neo Scavenger. Okay,
yeah. Like the concept
you were
behind
talking
it
about
is
that
neat.
kitty cat game
You're
that you were
looking for
playing yesterday.
You're thinking of the cat games. God, that game is hilarious.
So based on the date there, then you're 2 weeks away from your 2-year anniversary of your channel.
Indeed. It's been 2 years already, and I'm still enjoying it. I was gonna say I'm still enjoying it as much as at the beginning. I was gonna lie there. No, I'm enjoying it more than ever, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, just absolutely.
Liar.
No, I'm not. I'm just. It's the more, I guess, the more you learn how to relate to the games that you play while talking, I guess, the better you can take that pleasure out. It's a different experience, I found. Because I talk a lot. I like talking a lot, like just going on tangents. I'm currently playing through.
Boy, is this the business for you?
Pretty much.
You chose well.
Yeah, I guess some people don't like that though, but I try to keep it under control. I guess
they don't. What a surprise! People don't like something.
Yeah. It's true. It's it's for those who enjoy it. But I'm playing. You guys mentioned this game in a podcast a few weeks ago. Torment Tides of Numenera. I think Keith said something about it. You ended up not playing it on the channel. It was a very busy month. I'm having so much fun with that game, but I do go on a lot of tangents because it's a sort of game that really puts you in situations and shows you people that it's really
this was the spiritual successor of Planescape Torment you're talking about, right?
Exactly.
I was barely following the development of that.
Is it a spiritual successor or just a genuine sequel?
No, it's not. It doesn't even take place in the same setting.
Okay, so it has because they don't have Planescape rights, probably.
Actually,
like,
backfire on
because Planescape's like an external thing, right?
Planescape is a D&D setting.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Tides of Numenera is a different pen and paper RPG. It's written by the same guy that wrote Planescape, but I think it backfired on them because a lot of people are expecting the same sort of experience, same sort of game that Planescape Torment was. And
well, the very cool thing about the Planescape IP that was afforded to them, and I know nothing about Planescape Numenera. What was that? Something like that. But the thing that made Planescape really cool was you could like walk these different planes of existence and stuff, and there were these portals just kind of all over the place, and you would just walk around and you'd find like this wormhole to this new galaxy and stuff like that. So did they have that in this game?
That totally does sound like a missed CRPG.
I
could totally see that comparison.
So Kernel RPG is probably right about the people expecting something else, because the first review you find on Steam is a negative review from someone saying Planescape Torment remains one of my top 5 all-time favorite games.
Yeah,
like that's kind of in a nutshell.
Nearly every single negative review mentions Planescape Torment, and I'm not saying that it's wrong to say that. They did only include the Torment name for marketing reasons because it has no connection whatsoever. What I think they did wrong, though, is that they kind of looked at Planescape Torment and they said, okay, this game has lots of text. Let's make the best game we can make with lots of text. And they went overboard with that.
How do you go overboard? Planescape Torment already went overboard. It had 7 million words.
No, it's not as much, but they really go overboard with Numenera. But I think the end result, if you take it for what it is, I think it's really... it works well. I think they did a good job, but it is not a spiritual, not necessarily a spiritual successor to Planescape. A lot of people.
But I guess I probably should have seen it coming because I never heard anyone talking about it.
We'll see how In Exile's trajectory goes, because there was pretty similar feedback for Wasteland 2 when it came out, which they also made, and which is also a spiritual successor. Oh, actually, that one was just an actual sequel to the first Wasteland, but a lot of people were like, this isn't Wasteland. It was a lot of people's response, basically.
Well, who would want the original Wasteland again?
God, it looks like a nightmare. but what they got was another game that basically made XCOM as their combat model, which seems to be the popular way of a lot of RPGs handling things, because we have now the Wasteland series and the Shadowrun series are both like these text adventure, walk around, talk to people with adventures, where the moment combat starts, it transforms into XCOM. And then I don't know if everyone's really on board with that.
Yeah, it's really tricky because I think in terms of Wasteland 2, in Wasteland 2's case, I think it was more about outright just the quality of the game. I felt that when I played it the first time, I felt that it was, as you were saying before, it's not open. You can break the game easily if you just walk around, and that was a problem. And it's still a problem in the director's cut. But, well, for what it is, it's an okay game. I feel that there's some interesting characters and situations, but it could be so much more. I'm looking forward to their third, because they're developing Wasteland 3 right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which has the most confusing feature list that I read. Like when it talks about like asynchronous co-op, I'm like, wait, what are you saying? We're gonna like would Juan and I be in the same world when we're not playing at the same time? And like, can we like make each other miss story points? Like,
yeah, somebody will play through, and then when you get there, their ghost appears, and you have to play faster than them.
Like there might be a detailed description of that by now, because it's been a while since the initial pitch happened. But at the time, I
didn't expect that.
I was literally like, "What are you talking about with your game?" I'm like, "What is?" Like, I get the basic part of Wasteland 3, where it'll be like a sequel to Wasteland 2 and more content, more gameplay. But when it talked about the new features, I was like, I cannot interpret that based on how I know video games as of today.
Yeah, their company has. The problem is that In Exile has a backtrack. I guess is it backtrack the word of doing that
history.
History, yeah. Of doing that. Just, basically, they go about their Kickstarter campaigns in a little bit of a mess, and they never really explain much.
It's a shame, because that company has some of the most creative people in the whole video game industry, and they're just not able to find their footing.
Yeah, a lot of them have been leaving the company, actually. Not everybody, but it's been a problem for them. I expect good things, but...
So I'm looking at this description real quick of the multiplayer, and they talk about people being able to work cooperatively or against each other in the same world, like seemingly in real time.
It's Wasteland 3 Dark Souls.
Like which
game is this?
It seems like in Wasteland 3 you might be able to make
3.
two separate squads in the same world that are working at the same time in real time, but like maybe even in different locations and like working against each other's interests and stuff like that. Like you could just arrive. The way it sounds, you might be able to arrive at a settlement and find out the other team already screwed with it or something. Like I don't even. We'll see when it comes out.
I
It's
can't
like
wait
Dwarf Fortress.
I can't wait to try that, if only because it would be really funny for one session to like just take 2 or 4 of us and just ruin a world. And they'd be like, that was stupid, let's work together next time.
Is we should find a way to like min-max our efforts to ruin Keith's playthrough.
Yes.
I would have to make like separate playthroughs for that, probably. Which sounds like a nightmare in its own right.
What the hell is going on with my webcam? It just made me look so white.
You do that with Dark Souls, Keith.
Yeah, but Wasteland 2 was an ordeal to get through. That was a big one.
It was a big game.
There was neat stuff, but also like very clear moments of like kind of having to fight the game to get through it, because like there was moments where it would kind of fall apart moment to moment. One of the biggest ones was actually like the final hurdle is like you beat the final encounter of the game, and there's like a ticking clock for an explosion to go off. But it's a CRPG, so you're like, how do I get there in time? I'm trying to do skill checks to open doors and like trying to deal with the fact that there's a tick-tock while that's like seems like the clock just won't stop counting down, like even when like dialogue is happening. Like I think they made a weird move at one point of like having ambient dialogue where a guy is sitting there and just talking, and you can hear them when you're standing next to them. So your RPG instinct is to stand there and wait for him to finish talking, but then you don't have time to finish the level before you die.
I have a very
had
powerful
that happen
tool.
in Phantasy Star. That was really annoying.
Never played Phantasy Star though. Yeah.
It was like an old MMO, but we had like a timed mission to go get like 4 gene samples or something like that, and we just barely made it. And it's like, congratulations, you got the thing, but like it had to go through some dialogue for flavor.
Oh, right, we lost because it took too long to turn the quest in.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because it was one of those where it's like, hey, you got the thing, and we're going to do this with it, and this, and this, and this, and in the middle of it, it just pops up, you failed the quest returning to Mission Hub, and it's like, what? No,
yeah,
what?
And the whole time you were talking there, I was just yelling at you, like, Wander, turn it in, turn it in, turn it in, turn it in, and then we failed it, and I think we actually stopped playing the game after that.
Yeah, that was the last time we played the game, because it was...
Not for want of wanting to play it more. It's just like, we all got too busy. Other things it took precedence.
Yeah. I mean, we had spent like an hour
for me in Wasteland 2 was when the dialogue made me fail the ending of the game, I had to replay the entire final fight.
Ooh! It's like the opposite of a quick time event.
It was mean to me.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing that happened for me recently was actually in Tyson of Manira. There was a quest that had a decision. Basically, you had to choose either to help the guy or help whoever that guy was trying to kill. And I chose to help the guy that was the victim there. And then I went back to the guy that gave me the quest, and I expecting like him to just scream at me and just be upset. No, he was thankful that I helped him. So the quest triggered the wrong way, and basically I got both rewards. But never. I don't remember getting. Yeah, that was a good one, but I don't remember getting any.
This sounds like the issue with Mass Effect 2, where Conrad Werner would just forget what dialogue choice you chose with him in the previous game, and he would just act like you pointed a gun in his face and threatened him. For all future games. They just glitched that one out.
Yeah, they just failed variables, I guess. That's how programming goes.
I actually have like weird programming stuff to bring up about specifically Mass Effect Andromeda, because I've been playing through that, and there's some really weird issues with like continuity and basic like scene structure and things like that. So when you're playing that game, first of all, like the old BioWare games, the older ones like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, both had problems that not like problems in the game itself, but a problem for the developers to overcome was the idea that certain characters could be not in your party or in your party at any given moment, and you have the option to not recruit almost every single character in each of those stories, which leads to crazy variables. And they were like, "We're up to the challenge. Let's just do it right," and they did it. Mass Effect Andromeda tries to sidestep the problem by making, as far as I can tell, every single character a mandatory party member that joins just at a specific part of the story no matter what, and they still messed it up. So what happens is they failed to do basic script checks as far as like whether or not you've gotten to certain ports of the game or whether or not you've met certain characters yet. So
wait. Okay, keep going.
So on a slight side thing, one bigger thing is that you meet an alien race in the game, and at the very, very beginning of the game, before you've ever met them, you can already give your land vehicle their paint pattern that's named after them that you've never met before. But on a more immediately weird thing, I had the specific case where I got a message about characters talking about setting up a poker game, and the poker game involved the alien character that I've never recruited yet or met a single member of the entire alien race of yet. So it's just a name, and I'm like, who? But then once that happened, other people have been telling me what happens in their game, and one of the other ones is that like if you meet PB and Drac on the first planet, and if you recruit PB then leave and leave the planet, PB will already be she'll already be hanging out in her little escape pod as her home base, despite never having the scene yet of where she goes to the escape pod, which will still happen later as if it's a new thing, even though you've seen her in the escape pod before. But also she'll talk about Drac if you talk to her, who you've never met yet and is not in your party. And like there's like a bunch of really bad scripting things where the game can't keep track of who's in your party, even though they sidestep the complication of letting you not recruit people.
See, I was in my head picturing something a whole lot worse, where like some NPC is like, "Sarah, good to see you," and "Daryl, you're doing well," and then there's like some aliens like, "Ha," and you're like, "I've never recruited this person before."
Yeah, that's probably, I think I would imagine that's probably the hardest stuff to do in an RPG.
Yes, and managing your story and pruning your branches so that it's still cohesive is really, really hard.
It's just one of those things that really seals the deal on this not actually being BioWare.
And then not,
But it doesn't necessarily have to be an RPG, I guess. Even just adventure games, I guess. You're playing, Keith, you're playing Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it is. Didn't you have something similar like that in that game? I don't remember, though. What I've been watching your Let's Play, but...
Like, was there a continuity problem in Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't somebody show of one?
It feels disjointed to some degree, but that's only because the game itself has
content tiles, I guess.
Well, because it's like such a because it's such of a what's the example? I guess it's such an open world game that like if you're not playing them back to back, or if you are playing every mission back to back, the story starts getting really weird and awkward feeling.
I just had one. I just remembered the one from Horizon Zero Dawn that happened really recently, is that you get to an enemy encampment, because the game has enemy encampments throughout it that you can wipe out and clear them out, and they become friendly encampments because they can re-inhabit it and stuff. And you also reach a story chain where you get sent on a series of bounty hunting missions to kill 3 people and take them out. Then there are these various locations being all maniacal villains and stuff. One of them is within one of those enemy encampments. But I took out the enemy encampment first, then got the bounty hunter mission, which still was located in the enemy encampment, but it was no longer an enemy encampment, but a bunch of friendly soldiers. So this guy was sitting on top of this building and holding 3 people hostage and seemingly threatening to execute them all, while just surrounded with friendly guards and villagers not acknowledging them in any way.
Yeah. That's awesome. I don't think I wasn't thinking of that one because I don't think I've seen that episode yet, but
it might not be up yet.
Yeah, that's the sort of stuff.
Funny.
I mean, it's just really hard to make games because of that, but that's what makes good games as well, right? Just being able to have a world that reacts to your actions. I feel anyway.
That's what makes it interesting. That's what Zelda's really good at, actually, is that like I'm actively ignoring the main quest, and the game is actively changing everyone's dialogue to reflect that throughout the entire open world.
That's awesome.
Because they can't acknowledge certain things, and they can't spoil certain things and stuff like that. So like they just have different dialogue when I get to them, and it's all different.
That's awesome. That's proper attention to detail right there.
Like the first thing I did was go to the desert and meet Cass, who you're supposed to meet at like a bird village later on, and like he tells you his entire, even these disparate locations, he'll like still tell you the stuff that he's supposed to tell you when you reach him at the designated location, and they just reshuffle the dialogue around and they just make it work. But that's like the Nintendo polish, I guess. And Mass Effect does not currently have Nintendo polish.
There's a lot of polish than it needs, I guess.
Didn't last month they sell Nintendo sold more copies of Breath of the Wild than they sold Switches?
Yeah, they did.
Specifically, they sold more copies of Breath of the Wild for the Switch than Switches.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't be noteworthy because of the Wii U version.
Yes.
Oh, true. That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I listened to some of the justifications, and part of it is there were a number of people that were buying it because there were promotions to get like Breath of the Wild for 20% off, specifically on like Amazon and stuff like that. So it made it a little bit easier for them to justify like, hey, I want to pick this up.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe some people couldn't get their Switch, but they were like, but I'll grab Zelda and all the amiibos for later.
Because if you guys have been following it at all, there have been supply issues, as always. Whenever Nintendo puts out a new platform, it always has supply issues, whereas Breath of the Wild, they did not have the issue.
Because it's just a disc.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people can buy it online. I wonder if the figure includes that.
Speaking of, did you hear what Nintendo did with the NES Classic?
They discontinued production.
They discontinued it.
Really?
Yeah, man, that sucks so much.
Why?
Wasn't the story there that they made the Classic and then it was so short on supply that nobody could ever really get a hold of it, and then they just canceled it before anyone really could get it?
Everyone wanted it. Like, everyone was like, come on, make more. And then they were like, okay, we're discontinuing this entirely. It doesn't. It sucks. I hope that they cancel it, because I want in 3 months for them to release like the Nintendo Omni that like has the virtual console and just like bundles up everything.
So I did read one comment that was saying that the article was misinterpreting it and saying that they were just and the reality was they're just stopping the production for the season until the next one or something. But I didn't follow up on that to see if there was more to it.
I didn't follow up on that either.
Games journalism is also often so wrong that it might actually be inaccurate.
Well, it used to be worse, though. If there's one thing I feel that game journalism is, I think it's been better lately. It depends on the outlets, I suppose.
Never followed it before, never followed it now, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think it was back around 2006, 2007. I was really into. I wanted to be a game journalist. I was. Even my university. I studied archaeology. But I wanted to get into journalism, and then I changed because I thought archaeology would be better, which turned out it wasn't. A big surprise. But I was really involved for a long while in game journalism, and I remember it being really problematic. Back in, I think, 2007, there was even, like, GameSpot were firing guys that they were doing... There was one guy that did a bad review of I don't remember, I think it was Tomb Raider or something. And because... the company had paid GameSpot or something for some reason. They fired a guy or whatever. It's just big bad stuff.
That's kind of a common story.
Are we talking about Jeff Gerstmann?
Probably.
I think so. That sounds familiar.
Firing him for his review of Kane and Lynch.
Kane and Lynch.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what gave birth to Giant Bomb. Is everyone left GameStop when that happened and made Giant Bomb, which is like the best game website, and they have like the best gaming podcast.
I would say so.
Yeah, there's. I think these days it's better than it used to be. Also because I think YouTubers also removed a little bit of the need for game journalism just to expose games, because we're here just to have fun with the games and show the games. So game journalism can dedicate itself to just critics and that sort of analysis.
Now, I mean, there's still like tons of controversies over like people fixing scores and stuff like that. I don't remember what this site was, but there's a site. It's kind of one of the smaller like just text-based review sites. But they've been having a lot of issues lately because the main guy that owns the site, he will, change scores and like switch reviews around so they sound more positive to go in line with the, money being thrown at them and stuff like that. But what he will do is if the person pisses him off or leaves the company, he will wipe all accreditation to the person. So if Keith starts writing a bunch of, reviews from this guy, or like for this site, this guy, and eventually Keith quits, this guy will put his name over where Keith's was, saying like, I wrote this
was
review.
mine.
Yeah. I used to fancy myself a little bit of a games journalist, and I was like writing reviews and stuff for a website called Tech Goblin.
Oh yeah, you used to do that.
That was like the early days where like I basically before sad games, even like before doing Let's Plays, I was just like, I'm gonna write reviews of things and write about news, and
I'm picturing Keith's review being like, I really, really liked this game. This game was a lot of fun. It had very big levels.
That's the worst part. He's doing reviews because from the start that you can't fall on that. And one of the things that I actually did reviews as well. I mean, in Portuguese though, but I did reviews for a small website that we had here as well. And the first thing I learned is that you can't focus too much on what subjective stuff. So you need to focus on what the game does and what you feel it could do. But at the end of the day, at the end of the review, if you don't say outright if you like the game or not, it just people get out of the review like, okay.
Yeah, they're not going to know.
Yeah. It's a tricky balance. I feel anyway.
I've just
Keith,
a critic,
did you give everything? Yeah,
it's really
being a critic gets you shit on.
Yeah.
Who got it right though from the beginning? Yahtzee? What's his name? I know it's Yahtzee. The guy from
Ben Kershaw. Yahtzee.
Zero punctuation is pretty dang good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been watching him a lot again lately.
Forever. Just sound universally angry, and people will just become numb to it, like South Park.
It's true. You can't tell. Even like he's like, I really like Portal 2. Portal 2 is really good. I have a lot of fun when I play Portal 2. It's like, do you like Portal 2 or what is this?
I can't tell.
You do a good Yahtzee. That sounded close to him.
That's good. My impersonations are either 100 or they're goofy.
I feel like you would use the same voice to say I do not like green eggs and ham.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh boy.
So that suddenly nobody knows what to say to that.
Okay. Well,
should I read out some green eggs and ham?
I have like a really weird gripe to have with oh man.
What?
Do you guys want to talk about Mass Effect anymore? Because
not really.
Boy.
I'm kind of done.
Boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
It's like you want to talk about Suicide Squad some more, Keith. Like,
I just gotta point out just one thing real quick, which is that game tells you about a cloister of sequestered monks that where their entire point is isolationism and separateness and so on, so they can maintain their internal stories and so on, right? The moment you get there, you call down a fucking forward station from orbit, and it just camps in the middle of their cloister, and it's there forever now. And
then they hand you side quests,
and you get weapons out of it because it's a fucking armory. And you call that down. Like in Mass Effect, you are the bad guys. You are the invading alien force from every movie ever. You colonize other people's planets they're already living on and fill them with weapons and act like they're the bad guys. There's a whole planet where you're just killing the people that live there already. And they're not even, they weren't attacking you at the Nexus. You were just, attacking them on their home planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, well, these guys are racist. It's like, you're on their home killing them.
Yeah, it's no wonder, though, right? But you're the Pathfinder, though, so that justifies it all.
Everything's okay.
God. That's enough Mass Effect for now. So I got a question.
The chosen one.
I got a question to read because it baffled me.
Yep.
Diego Santos asks, do you imagine yourself still playing video games, I assume, is what they meant to say, in 70 years or more?
Oh, Jesus, that's a long time from now.
To be dead.
110 years old, still playing video games. Of course you will, right? At that age, what else?
I will be 97 years old in 70 years. So I expect to be quite dead. Or we're living in a utopian society where I I revert to being 20. In which case, sure.
But I would like there to be a...
The answer is either I'm dead or yes. I guess is really the that's basically it.
Heath is going to be a digitized personality that exists purely to play video games.
Can I be Xerxes from System Shock?
Was he the good one or the evil one?
Place?
No, it was the bad one.
I'll have a face made out of binary.
No, Shodan was the bad one. Xerxes was the one that was just like,
Xerxes
I would
was
like
even
to fly the ship.
I don't think Xerxes was even self-aware, to be honest. I think it was just an AI.
Didn't Xerxes just fucking make sure the vending machines didn't run out of soda and stuff like that?
I'm helpful.
Yeah, and then Shodan overtook his mind and became evil Xerxes.
Like always, you can send questions into fournerdsquestions@gmail.com. There's an unusually early reminder.
Thanks for the words of the podcast, everybody.
I think I sent you once. I think I sent you a question once, but it was really
it
was really philosophical and political. And I knew it was. It was the worst question.
Let's see if I can find it.
I sent it from my email, so you might find it. Just to touch on the on playing video games at an old age, I think if you look at I guess my society, as it were, it can be a little bit different, I guess, but. Old people these days probably play Sudoku and even just any sort of puzzle games.
All the old people are playing Flappy Bird now and Farmville and Facebook games.
Yes.
But but the sort of games that keeps the brain working and just sort of puzzle games, as it were. And I think it's that's at least that part of games is always going to be there. Who knows what gaming is going to be like in 70 years if there's even going to be gaming? Because who knows?
I'm going to get a little heavy here, but in 70 years, medical technology is going to be so advanced that, even though we say, I'll be dead in 70 years, that might not be true.
Yeah.
We could see people that live to be 150 or 170 years old within our lifetimes, assuming we live that long, I guess. But I kind of screwed up that thought. The point is, the first person who's going to live to be 150 is probably alive today, for example.
And they're not us.
If you
probably not.
Maybe, but if you can stay alive long enough, medical technology can just keep you going and going and going, and then who the fuck knows how long people are going to be living soon.
Be the villain of every story.
That's true.
I cannot find this email if it exists.
I will inject myself with the blood of pre-teenage heroes who will...
Or maybe I dreamt it. But I think the only thing
empire.
The only thing that you need to look at is, for example, my grandmother is 84, I think. My granddad from my father's side died at 93. And when he was born, the average expectancy for age expectancy, life expectancy,
expectancy
was 60. So that's 50% more. Because the life expectancy is not when you are born. Ours is probably 70, 80 when we were born. But as time moves on, if nothing terrible happens.
But it's also probably kind of an average, right?
Yeah, it's always an average. Yeah.
And it reflects childhood, birth, surviving through birth and stuff like that.
You basically just need to go around and kill some 20-year-olds to boost your stats.
Yeah. No, actually not.
You would get EXP.
That's what they meant by life experience.
How weird would that be if you, like, punched a duck and you gave him 1 EXP and it, like, popped up very clear as day?
And, like,
then you would go to jail.
or something?
You probably out-level him in no time.
I've punched this duck, and now I know math better.
This is Matrix.
I put my point into intelligence.
If you could kill people to get their time, you'd basically just end up with that Justin Timberlake movie called In Time that was terrible.
Justin Timberlake was in a movie about killing people? That seems really
It was a movie where
bad.
everyone had a wrist thing where they could tell how long they had to live, and money was time. So, like, time to live was your salary and stuff like that.
I have never seen any movie with this man that I just Googled now.
Like, rich people were, like, immortal, basically, and all the poor people died young, and it was like, it's an allegory for life.
I'm surprised I never heard Justin Timberlake. He was the ex-president of Portugal.
The ex-president. He was elected the ex-president.
Yeah, he was elected as ex-president initially.
He was elected and immediately lost the election.
He was elected and impeached in the exact same vote.
Yes.
It is my honor to have served you.
To have served, to have been the president.
Son, one day you'll make a great ex-president.
And that person grew up to be Bill Clinton.
Is he a great ex-president? I don't know. I don't follow.
Oh.
All you have to do to be a good ex-president is just say good things when you don't need to actually be in control of stuff anymore.
To be a good ex-president, you just have to, like, donate a bunch of money to Africa. That's what Jimmy Carter did. It's what George W. Bush did. And
Jimmy Carter's done a hell of a lot more. Jimmy Carter's done more as an ex-president than he has done, or than he did as a president, which is...
Jimmy Carter's done a lot of good.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with Jimmy Carter gets the birdcatcher stamp of approval for his post-presidency works.
Yes,
well,
I'm sure he's very
thinking,
proud.
like, as I was saying that, I was like, this doesn't mean anything for me to say, like, you
know
do
who needs a lot of praise
Jimmy
and approval?
Carter.
President.
Bird, you should draw, like, a really shitty, like, amulet-looking thing and, like, send it to him after cutting it
It's
out.
just an off-brand Nintendo seal of approval and, like, Sharpie. It's all crooked.
Just a picture of me giving a thumbs up with, like, a big old crookedy smile.
And you draw it on a post-it and just add a pin it to it, and just you can wear it on your shirt, whatever. I'm sure you'd wear it. Yeah.
All right. So that was a weird tangent.
Where did we start?
We had other things we were going to talk about.
Do you guys want to talk about the sexy brutale?
That's what I was going to bring up. Yes.
Gotta be
Brutale,
Brutal, right? But I'm never entirely sure.
It's
Brutale.
probably brutal.
You almost certainly don't
Italian.
pronounce the E,
They say
but it's a
brutale,
weird
don't they?
word.
Italians would say brutale, but
Yeah. I just figure like Royale.
Yeah.
I guess it would be brutal.
It's a brutal with cheese.
Delicious.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Wander, tell us about Sexy Brutale.
That game's real good.
I have differing opinions.
Well, those.
Are we ready for this?
Okay.
Oh no.
So my problem is I beat this game in 2 nights. I did the first 4 in the first night, and then the remaining 3, it gets a little bit muddy. The second night over the course of, I want to say 6 or 7 hours. Like, it's not actually that long. And it's actually super, super fun. I mean, the entire premise is it's kind of like this supernatural murder mystery where, like, you're at this casino and all the party goers are kind of like, old friends of the person that owns the casino, and they're getting murdered repeatedly. And,
well, not repeatedly.
Oh no, I've been murdered repeatedly.
Well,
the second time tonight.
yeah. It's like if you took, was it Bill Murray?
It's like Clue crossed with Groundhog Day, yeah.
And then evil magic and shit. And it's like
Yeah, so every guest gets murdered
works.
over the course of 24 hours, but then every time the day ends, your magic watch kind of like resets the day over and over again.
Oh, that sounds cool.
You're trying to find
really
out.
Cool.
Like, the cool gimmick it has is that you can't be in the same room as any of the people.
Yeah, no one can see you. You have to so you have to like peer in through locks and like one-way mirrors and stuff like that.
You basically
really
have to,
cool.
You have to spy on people. It's like It's like the core. It's like as if the whole like everyone has a schedule thing from Elder Scrolls games that they champion so hard actually had a point in that it was the core gameplay mechanic, because everybody has a very specific routine they do over the course of the day, all the way up to leading to the events of their death, and so you have to spy on them all day to figure out what's going to happen and what stuff leads to them. So like in the tutorial mission, you'll see a guy running down the hallway and he seems panicked, and you'll follow him for a bit, and then you eventually see how he dies, and you're like, wait, how would I do about that? And you like see the other character involved in that scene. You're like, okay, now I got to find out where they were early in the day and follow them all day and see how these two paths intersect and stuff like that.
God, that sounds so cool.
There's so many intersecting paths.
It is
and
really
characters
cool.
going all over the place, and realizing the whole game takes place over one loop means you can see stuff early on that doesn't come up until like 4 hours later.
Yeah, the like lights will flicker, and you're like, "Why does the lights flicker?" And like 2 murders later, you're like, "Oh, that's why they flicker."
Yeah, like like one of the first scenes of the game features a gunshot, and then for the rest of the game, at that time of day, you always hear a gunshot for the rest of the game. But you've always hearing like things like lights flicker, and you hear a crash of glass, and you hear a bunch of other different sounds and sights, and you're like, those all probably are someone's death, but where and when? It's a real neat concept, just from front to back.
So
I think. Sorry.
So what's your problem with it? Oh yeah.
We can get into it in a bit. Let's talk the positives. Mainly, we're actually going to have to hold off on the main reasons why I dislike the game until next week, because Keith hasn't beaten the game, and I assume since none of you guys are playing it,
well, I'll play for it a little bit.
The reason why I dislike the game is at the very end, and I don't want to get into that.
Is it a mechanical or story thing?
Both.
I guess the mechanics are the story in a way in this game.
Exactly. They tie it together really well, which is why I have this problem. But you'll honestly probably see exactly what I mean, and we'll get to that in a bit. So anyway, I really actually do appreciate the game. The like core concept of like stalking people over the course of a day and like figuring out, okay, like who done it and how. And I mean, to be fair, it's not really much of a murder mystery because it's super obvious who's killing them all the time.
It was Bird.
The mystery is how to prevent the murder each time.
Yeah, so
it's the puzzle.
Yeah, the hotel staff or the casino staff are all wearing like these gas masks, and like they're immediately just super creepy. And you're like, okay,
the art style and the soundtrack. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the art style is amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. The gameplay itself is pretty good. I wish there were a couple of mechanics to make things go a little bit better. Like, I specifically insist upon seeing every character die because, you know, you could easily solve their murder and just walk off, and you never even know how they died or like what happened to them. But the problem is, one of my main problems, and I can't talk about this, is everybody dies pretty much around 9 or 10 at night, with a couple of exceptions. Like, most of the groups...
You have the whole day to follow through.
You have the whole day to follow them and solve the puzzle, and for the most part, you actually need the whole day. Right. And so, originally we were thinking, oh, you'd actually have to save everybody all in one day. But it's impossible to do that, and it becomes super obvious when, like, some of the things require you to actively tail a character, and you're just like, oh, that's kind of annoying, because I really wanted to, like, I really wanted to actually... figure out everybody's schedules and like sprint around this mansion and do everything in sequence
and prevent every death in one run.
Now,
yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
This takes place in a casino?
Yes.
It's like a mansion.
So, let's say what I wanted to do. Okay, so you have this time power, right?
Yes.
I guess it's almost like a casino cabaret club or something. Like, it's a huge, sprawling place, but there's like different rooms for entertainment.
What I wanted to do was go through the entire casino, take down notes of when people were winning the slot machines, and just like go through the entire day just winning at slots over and over and over again, and say fuck you to solving the mystery, and just walk out with every dollar that place has.
The character you're playing as is a priest.
And, fucking okay.
And this isn't really spoilers, but you get a character bio later on that tells you that he used to own a casino himself. So it's like, why? Like, he gave that life up. I thought that was actually
there also
really
isn't
neat.
much by the way of slot machines I've seen so far. Like, you see you see a couple things that are literally like a single rotating thing for the entire slot machine, which I don't think are even meant for money, but some other mechanic.
That's part of one of the murder puzzles.
Yeah, and then elsewhere you see a guy playing cards.
Yes,
which is very roulette or something. That is like
literally
different.
They have a Grim Reaper blackjack dealer, which is actually super classy.
Like you do.
Yeah.
But
one of the really cool expressions of the routine part of the game is that every time you ever see any player character on the map, like just with your own eyes, it basically records their presence. And then when you go on the map, you can scrub forward and backwards in time, and you'll see literally everybody you've ever seen at those moments of time moving around the map, and they'll disappear entirely from the map at any moment you weren't exactly looking at them and stuff like that, and then reappear when you saw them later. So like you'll see them just like skip a room because you saw them one room later but missed the middle part, and like you can see how complete your current mental picture is of everyone's routines so far. Like it's a really cool detail there.
Adding on to that, at the very end of the game, you get the power to know where everybody is at the same time. Again, not much for spoilers, but it's really cool watching everybody move around.
Doesn't that spoil the puzzle?
Well, but this is after you've solved all the other puzzles.
Oh, okay.
So
it's like they're giving it to you for that puzzle then. Because one of the gimmicks of the game is that everyone has magic masks on, basically. Like it's a big masquerade, and one effect of the magic mask is that even though you're invisible and no one can see you, if you enter a room with another character in it, their mask will literally come off and start levitating at you to attack you.
Yeah, time is frozen. It's like this kind of weird,
you're not
ghostly...
supposed to be in the room with any of the masks. But also, if you rescue anybody from their deaths, then they take their mask off, and you get to take their mask and incorporate their power, which is some ability that they themselves likely had while they were walking around and everything.
Yeah,
and
it's usually a facet of their
power
personality.
From each character.
Yeah, so there's like a blind lady with really good hearing, so you get really good hearing for extra spying on people.
Yeah,
which is super handy because then you can like get you can actually get passcodes and stuff like that, which is neat. Yeah. Unfortunately, to some degree.
You even get a few moments where you get their mask, and then you can go back to their own path and follow them around and pick up on things that they only they were able to notice back to when they were the only one with that mask power.
Yeah. I followed her specifically for like the whole day, just being like, so what did she do? And it was like, oh, that was actually really neat. Unfortunately, with the mask powers, this is one of the complaints. They don't really like build off of each other. So like usually you go on to the next puzzle and you're not using all of your previous mask powers. You only need like one or two. So instead of kind of like by the end where you're like using all of your newfound skills, it's mostly just like follow the guy and listen to him. And it's just like, like I was really hoping that it would all kind of like build into one, and then it didn't actually do that.
Yeah.
It stays kind of simple throughout, for better or worse. But
it's one of those games where even if it goes to shit at some point, I'll just be so happy it exists because it just screams originality the moment you like launch it. And you're like, yes, this game happened.
Like, despite the fact that I had a negative experience by the end, I still think it was an awesome game, and I'd love to see somebody take the idea. Hell, I'd love to see them make a sequel. Yeah, and take it further.
Brutaler.
It shouldn't be too difficult for them if it does well. In a lot of regards, this kind of reminds me of two games that I played. Have you guys ever played Neighbors from Hell? It's not the same sort of game. It's a very old game, 2004, I think. It was a side scroller, but they made a second one because it was so easy to make a new one. And it was sort of. It was a little bit like this. It wasn't, the murder mystery or anything.
Did you
didn't have the time
from Hell?
No, Neighbors from Hell. Basically,
Neighbors from Hell. Oh, okay.
There's a 2004 game called Michigan Report from Hell, which I'm pretty sure is like that one game everyone laughs at.
No, I don't. I don't
the
know
first
that game.
Suda 51 game or something.
Oh, yeah.
Neighbors from Hell is a decent review.
It's hilarious. It's another hilarious game. It's not the same sort of game. It has some things, but I feel that Sexy Brutales could have a sequel with pretty low budget, because if you just reuse the assets, it's mostly just about the engine is there.
They would have to make new assets. The environment is kind of done with. Like once you've kind of been through the whole casino, if they reused all of that it would probably get a little bit boring.
Oh, so like a Bioshock thing where,
I
like,
see.
once you make Infinity, you have to make up a new fantastical theme for the whole place to be in.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to Bioshock, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
back
Bioshock
to
2
Rapture.
is the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, Bioshock 2, yeah.
Part of the main point of the game, though, is like exploration and stuff. Like, I loved whenever I got to like a new murder mystery part, or whatever you want to call it. You know, whenever it was like, here's a new person you have to go save, I would completely ignore the fact that I have to go save them.
Just
And
check out
I
the
w-
place.
Yeah, I would fill in every single. I would
Just fill in every room and find out what weird tricks you could find and stuff.
Yeah, and read all of the like little descriptions, because they've got proper descriptions for practically like everything, every set piece, which is really neat. And I really appreciated that, because it's like, hey, you know, let's go look at this statue, and eventually find out like the statue was made by the blind chick, and you're like, oh, really? And you know, it was just kind of repeatedly neat stuff.
Sexy
and like
Brutal's
Easter egg
incredibly
details.
rewarding for people that like exploring in video games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it called Sexy Brutal?
That's the name of the building.
Yeah.
Oh. It's a weird name of... I guess it's kind of like Casino Royale, but...
Oh,
eh.
maybe it probably is
like-
from there.
The almost universal response I've been seeing in the comments is like this is the worst name to give this game, because it will turn away everybody who wants this kind of game, because they will probably think it's like a visual novel or some kind of other thing they don't
I will say
want.
that's a pretty bad name for a video game.
Yes.
For this
It's
type of game, at
unique,
least.
but...
It
I don't
it
know,
doesn't play well because people don't go past the name.
yeah.
Well, at least it's gonna get exposure because of the name.
No, I'm saying it's probably the opposite, because like the type of people that want like a thoughtful puzzle exploration game aren't looking for a game called The Sexy Brutal.
Well, yeah, but then those people, maybe they know a little bit already about the game, but from some.
I think Sexy Brutal is going to succeed, not because of its own right, but because of YouTubers and stuff like that picking it up. I've noticed a lot more YouTubers picking it up lately and doing content on it, which is good.
Yeah, there's
The only
people
thing
trying to
that's-
signal boost it for sure, because like, for example, like Jim Sterling just flat out gave it a 10 out of 10, which
Yeah.
I think he just does when he's like, this is an indie thing that everyone needs to look at now.
Yeah, like, despite my disappointments, I would definitely say to anybody, like, absolutely pick the game up, because it was amazing and, you know, very worth taking a look at if you've never, you know, if you're into murder mystery kind of things.
The only thing that really irked me at the beginning, I got over it easily enough, but the fact that it's all real time and that you need, I like a paused experience. I enjoy turn-based games because of that. I can deal with real time, but it's the sort of game that it's as you say, you want to explore and not care about the objective. But if you don't realize that you can just not care about the objective, it's tricky because it's all real time. So there's a lot of trial and error.
I might have to say that's kind of a you problem, because I think the real time kind of enhanced it, because you didn't have time to breathe. You had to rush around, and like if you took too long, somebody would barge into your room, and you're like,
And part of it's just an experience of like learning, because you don't immediately know at first, but over time you learn the fact that you can just let the game fail over and over again while you explore, and it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it's part of the game. It's real. It's important that it is real time. Otherwise, it would change the game.
Yeah, but the first time it happens, the music's coming up, and you're like, "Oh my god, we're doomed! I'm what do I do? It's too late. I didn't find the thing."
You think like you're actually going to lose the game.
Yeah, you feel like you're in
even if
trouble,
it's just,
but it's just
like,
how the
part
game
of it.
plays.
the visual effect as like the day is running out is awesome. I really liked.
What is the universe like crashing into itself, and a
Yeah,
gigantic
it starts
moon face is
shaking,
like...
and it starts raining really hard, and
That's Rain World.
you know, it does have the rain world effect, and but it's like this kind of creepy red rain. Like it fits the whole like the like kind of weird occult thing really well. At least as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. It's just cool.
Such a neat, weird little game.
I didn't get to that part.
All right. Well, do we have any questions?
Sort of.
Do you have any good questions?
First one.
King Char, Lord of All, wants to know what our favorite board games are.
Race for the Galaxy, 100%.
That's a good one.
Race for the Galaxy.
It's amazing. It's really hard to learn, but me and a couple of friends learned it in college, and for whatever reason, I was like totally unbeatable for 3 years until they kicked me out of the frat, and I was just like, no, I can't play Race for the Galaxy anymore. I was really sad, because like that game is really solid.
I played the game and was really good at it, and then my friends abandoned me. The end.
Doesn't that happen a lot in board games, though? I mean, if you somebody...
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I have a similar story, because like, two of my favorite games are Carcassonne and Resistance, but one of my favorites that I can never play is Twilight Imperium, which is this...
That's a Warhammer game, isn't it?
Ordeal of a game. I don't think it's Warhammer related. But
it's called Twilight Imperium. How the hell is that not Warhammer related?
It's just something called Twilight Imperium. But Twilight Imperium is basically like a civilization-style game done in space with like a board game. So as you imagine, it's like an ordeal. Like you and your friends are going to sit down and play this game for 8 hours. And
oh my god, this is so complicated.
You have a hex-based galaxy grid with randomized tiles and stuff like that. Everyone has their home worlds around the rim of around the rim of the galaxy. The middle of the galaxy is like a sort of like cash cow influence planet that everyone kind of wants if they want to have influence over votes and stuff like that. And what happens is everybody gets a personal objective that only they know. It's a face-down card that they read that is a objective they're supposed to try to accomplish. And then basically every round of the game, of which there's only like 8, like it's not a lot. The game is short as far as round count goes. Every round, a new public objective is revealed, and you're basically racing to get a certain number of victory points, basically to win the game, which is a combination of private and public objectives. And the private ones are the really nasty ones because they like to incentivize you to like attack enemy home planets and stuff like that.
Damn, that's cool.
It is a hell of a game, and
it looks really cool.
So hard to get people to play it.
I mean, I'm just looking at the amount of stuff. I did a search. I'm looking at the amount of stuff that players have in front of them. Not even the table. It's just so many cards, so much stuff.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I'm doing an image search right now, and I found someone made a custom table for Twilight Imperium. That's a gargantuan hex-based table with giant custom tiles and physical globes for all the planets.
It looks amazing.
Wow!
Oh my god! I want those friends.
I want those too.
That's insane.
Are you saying you want rich friends?
Yes.
With a lot of free time?
Yeah.
So I want a lot of upper class rich friends.
This is so cool looking. Holy shit, they had so much time to put this together.
It's a very neat game, but unfortunately, every time you play it, there's always somebody that's like, oh my god, that was my whole day, and they never come back. And so, like, you're every single game, there's at least 1 or 2 people that you're tutorializing for the first time, and you could just never build enough momentum to make it consistent. Yeah. Like, it never quite reached that level of, like, a D&D campaign where you're meeting up every 2 weeks to do this thing for a while.
That's why you do a sleepover the day before you tutorializing.
Yeah, you don't do sleepovers after, 9.
I did a sleepover. I have done a sleepover because of this game.
Oh god!
Because it was
because we played it
because we played at the house that I live at now, but I used to live an hour away. So I came here at one point and played for like 8 hours, and then I just slept on their couch and left in the morning because it was just so late. And it's
there was
worth
a book I read when I was a little kid called Interstellar Pig, which was kind of like a different version of, I don't know, it was a young adult novel. Well, it's not very great, but it was kind of like Ender's Game, sort of, in that like these kids found this board game called Interstellar Pig, and then it turns out like that board game was real life. And it was like a space opera type of board game where you were trying to conquer the galaxy, yada, yada, yada. The point is, in middle school, for extra credit, me and some friends, we made a version of this board game where we literally had, like, it actually kind of looks like this tabletop setup where we had these fake spheres, like these styrofoam balls for planets and things like that. And you could arrange them, and you had, we made cards for them, and we made card art, and we did all of this work for this extra credit thing. And then the teacher was like, "That's nice," and we didn't actually get any extra credit for it.
Wow.
Yes, but the person, okay,
Isn't that how it always goes?
so the person who really, really like sunk so much time into this, like he went like nuts making this thing. He worked on it for like a week and a half straight, like every single day outside of homework and stuff. He went on to like go to pre-med, and like he gets like this, he like blows away the MCAT. He like is like lined up to go so far in life, and then he burns out and he decides screw it, I'm not going to go to medical school, and he like drops out of like college to become a TA.
Damn, bird.
What is it?
Yeah. Teaching assistant.
Oh.
Yeah. So like
isn't that
what
going
he
to burn
does,
him out even more?
yeah. So he works with his mom at a high school, like organizing the library.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and like so hardworking. And he just like snaps as soon like he like reaches like the mountaintop of his life, and then just like throws it out.
Damn.
Wow, I haven't thought about that guy in a very long time. But yeah, that's I wonder what he's up to. I wonder if he's still like doing that.
Well, if he's smart, I guess the doors will always be there, I guess. But, you know, career is a difficult thing, but I guess.
No. I mean...
So, Burr's favorite board game is the game of life.
Yeah. I don't know what my favorite board game is.
Yeah.
I like... I can't remember the name of any board games off the top of my head all of a sudden.
Monopoly?
No, not
Catan.
Carcassonne. I like Stratego. Stratego is really fun.
Stratego.
It's like Stratego is like chess, but like more complicated.
I tried playing Stratego, but the only person that I could play with was my dad, and he kicked my ass so hard I never played it again.
Oh yeah, I never learned how that game works.
It's really fun. It's like pretty simple.
Looks like flag checkers.
It's sort of like chess or checkers, where like it's really like the depth of it is astounding, and you can get like life dedicatingly good at Stratego.
But at what cost?
Yes.
I'm a professional Stratego player. My ELO is 3004. There's only 3 other people I can play Stratego with. What? You play Go? Go's cool.
Just you become the problem with over specializing in board games is then you just end up surrounded by people that don't only play other board games.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm surrounded by people
that
don't play board games. That's my problem.
Just to scare people more about Twilight Imperium, on top of that visual you guys saw, that game has tech trees.
I'm sure it does.
You just need to see a picture, and you know that game is amazing.
Board games basically became super inspired by video games, and like they just become like really slow video games that you spend like $130 on.
We're in the middle of a huge boom for board games because of Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Kickstarter
so many
is
cool
the
ones.
best part. I mean, board games are like the best type of Kickstarter practically because
they actually get finished.
Well, yeah, because every Kickstarter product ever pretty much is it's either a video game where like, well, we promise we'll try to make this, we'll see what happens, and then other things like is a bunch of stuff where like somebody has an idea for a product, but they have to do like all of the R&D still and creation of it and all that other nightmare stuff. You can create an entire board game and test it for years for free.
Yes. Yep.
Because it's just paper.
Because you just make it out of pieces of paper.
Yeah, and then you just then it's like, we need a Kickstarter for this game so we can like, I don't know, make art assets and then publish it.
Yeah, that's why every Kickstarter for a board game gets finished in like 3 months.
Yeah.
It's just, they're done.
Like, we already have the game. Here's the rules. We just want to kickstart like a published version, basically.
Yep.
And then that's what happens.
Says, I like Ticket to Ride.
Like the guy who's a house really good. Like he just backs like dozens of board game Kickstarters, so we just have this gargantuan shelf of them.
And then you get like the alphas. Yeah, they send you like the pre-release versions.
So I went to a convention for like kind of like Kickstarter board games and stuff. It was not pretty, actually. For every like board game that succeeds on Kickstarter, there's like hundreds that don't make the cut, and it was super painful to go there because there's like 2 board games that you knew like were going to make the cut and one already had, and then all the other ones were just like, yeah, so we're going to be putting this on Kickstarter mainly because we like need an artist, and they're like their stuff is all like really shitty hand drawn, and they've got like note cards and everything all over the place, and it's just like,
ooh,
just hire the artist to begin with, and hopefully you can recoup the losses from the Kickstarter. Because man, actually, I got an email a while back from a developer. I don't know if I posted this in Discord or anything like that, but he's like, he was asking for investors, more or less.
So
that
I heard all YouTubers were really rich.
Yeah, so he was trying to reach out and get YouTubers to both throw money at him and also tout his like Indiegogo or whatever to try and pull in some extra people. It was not pretty. Yeah, it was very desperate looking. And I was just like, I'm just going to hide this.
Are there any pornographic board games? Are there any adults-only board games?
I mean, what's your standard for adults only? That got more vague. Because like at some point, like Exploding Kittens, I think has an adults only version where it's like now the exploding kittens are on people's penises or whatever the hell, and like what is it like a Cards Against Humanity is not for children.
It's not? Oh, it's not. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, one of the cards is 2 midgets shitting in a bucket.
Yes,
that's the name of the card.
I don't know that card in particular, but yeah, it's true.
That's just what Cards Against Humanity is. Like that's adults only. Pornographic would at least be more nuanced than that, but I don't know a pornographic game, but I guaranteed they exist.
It's gonna be really weird to play though. Right?
Pornographic board games. Oh!
Sounds like Bird found
There's
something.
Some rough search result images, but also I got Candyland for some reason.
Well,
is it Candy with an I land?
No, it's just Candyland with the old guy going like, "Huh, thumbs up," and little kids and everything. Like just nothing.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, you're right. There it is.
It's just straight up Candyland.
This one's called Booby Trap. This one's called.
Probably done with that topic.
Bumps and Grinds. Oh, there we go. That sounds like a hot board game right there. You guys keep talking. I'm gonna research this.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna do some research. Should we do another question or something?
3.5 out of 10 on Board Game Geek. People aren't big fans of bumps and grinds.
What are your guys' biggest pet peeves in video games and why?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh boy.
Save points. I hate games with save points / checkpoints that are few and far between. If you have to like go back through an entire level to like get to the boss or like wherever you died, it's just like really.
Yeah.
Especially like kind of modern games that have like a.
Speaking of which, we'll be playing Dark Souls later tonight.
Yeah, well, so like Dark Souls has definitely gotten better. Like Dark Souls 1, I would say, is probably the biggest offender.
The Undead Settlement and the Duke's Archives.
Yeah, Duke's Archives is actually really short if you don't bother exploring. Bird and I went through that and it was like comical.
Yeah, but don't you have to replay all the way from the Archives through the Crystal Cave all the way down to Seath every time you fight him?
No, there's a bonfire right before the Seath staircase.
Oh. I don't remember that game as well. Maybe I didn't. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that was my life.
I would say it was really hidden, but it was actually like super obvious. But you wouldn't think to like look there, so I don't know.
Just touching on that, I'm really bad at. I really fall into save scumming. So I like when a games force me to just have checkpoints. Some of my favorite first-person shooter of all time is Far Cry, the original one, and it didn't have quick saves. It was checkpoint system, and I enjoyed it because of that. And there's a lot of roguelikes. We mentioned before, Neo Scavenger is another one like that, where you can save, but if you die, you die. It's a permadeath situation.
roguelikes are kind of a different monster entirely.
It's different. Yeah. But I do know what you mean. I just wanted to.
Yeah, System Shock 2 really raises the question between like save spots versus manual saving, because like it has the BioShock system of there being like resurrection chambers in every level, and yet you can also manually save and load like instantly anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So you start questioning which one of these is actually the intended system for playing the game, because they're both there, and you're not sure what they mean.
Confusing. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that there's some like one thing I can point to in general that annoys me in video games, like because there's something that really like,
Invaders.
Unskippable cutscenes. That's mine.
Oh yeah, actually, back to my pet peeve. Save points right before unskippable cutscenes is the worst, especially when the cutscenes are long. I was playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth a while back. And that was mostly good fun. But there was one time where a bunch of people were like, you need to play on hard mode because like easy mode's too easy and like you're getting the watered down experience. So I'm like, all right, screw it, let's try it. And I was actually doing fairly well up until I hit the boss, who just one shot my entire team.
Yeah.
And then I had to sit through. I imagine if like you had
You'll never save the digital world.
Imagine if you had like Danny Sexbang as like a hair metal band guy that was like the most annoying person in the universe, and he was like he would talk for like 10-15 minutes straight.
Oh goody.
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
Yeah, we had a recent experience in Sonic Unleashed where you would land on a hex-shaped platform, which is always like, oh, a big disc, time to fight, guys. So a bunch of cutscene plays, then a bunch of enemies spawn in, and you fight them all. Then immediately you have to do a really awkward platforming section that's really iffy and has a bad camera and everything like that. So immediately we fall off a cliff and die. And lo and behold, the checkpoint was before that whole fighting part we did before the platforming section. So every time you mess up the platforming, you have to redo the fighting part.
Right.
But I've had fixed save points kill a game for me. Because years ago I tried to play Persona 4 for the first time, and the game, like I was lured in by the game's like hours and hours of story, because it's like a visual novel for a very long time, and I was like, oh, I'm into this, let's see what happens. And then you even do like scripted boss fights where you just get plopped directly into a combat scenario, fight it, and then go on with the story. But eventually the game finally starts being a regular video game, hours and hours in, it seemed like, where you go through an actual dungeon from front to back, and the game doesn't really explain the dungeons very well. So when I got into a dungeon, I'm like, okay, I'll fight through a few floors, and then after a few floors, you get a mini-boss for the first time ever in an actual dungeon. And he just starts one-shotting everybody, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah,
and
so Persona games are like secret grindy games, so like you think normally you just play through the level and you fight the boss, but really what you're supposed to do is grind through, stop for the night, come back, grind through again like 2 or 3 more times, then you find find and fight the boss.
But the game doesn't really contextualize that very well.
Jeez.
The game doesn't really contextualize that fact. Like, it's built into the game that like you have like 2 weeks to save the person, so every day you go into the dungeon is 1 day in real life, so you have like tons of time. But naturally, you would expect to like hit a natural stopping point for you to leave and then come back. But the game just stomps you.
Just reach the end.
And your punishment is that the game has fixed save points like back at your house or something like that, I think, or something like that. At least they weren't inside the dungeon. So if you spent an hour fighting your way through the dungeon up to that mini boss and get stomped, you lose all of that with no warning. And me being like the person that thinks it's like every other video game, I'm like, okay, I'll just try again, but like maybe try a different strategy. And like, nope, get stomped, start the entire dungeon over again. And I'm like, after like the 3rd time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to play this whole chunk again that I keep losing my progress on. And so I never made it further than that in Persona, because I just didn't feel like it, even though it's supposed to be a great game. And it's one of those things like it would have been better if the game just had some better explanation of how that even works, because I can work around how a game works, but I just didn't know, and it was a problem exacerbated by the fact that it has, as we talked about, no save points, because you have to save at a specific location, which is something that's thankfully taken away in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a game I hate from the same people. But the one thing it did do right is you could, at any point that wasn't like a cutscene or a boss fight, like, if you're just walking around in any context in the real world or the fake world, you just pause, hit save, the end. And you have like 20 save slots and you can save anywhere. It's great. every game should have that, especially JRPGs.
Yes.
Mhm.
And Japanese games in general. It's one of the big reasons why I could never get into Silent Hill is because you just have specific safe spots, and it's I don't know.
I can kind of get behind that in a horror game because it's all about tension.
Yeah,
like even Resident Evil 7 still did that. And although it would weirdly sometimes compromise it by making weird invisible save points here and there right before boss fights.
But
like the thing of like, oh, I've got to like the idea of like having a save point in the mansion, like this is my safe room where all my stuff is, and like you're gonna go on an expedition to find loot and fight enemies and try to get through alive so you can make a return trip and be like, I made it. I keep that progress. It's kind of like a cool part of the genre that can be lost otherwise.
Yeah,
almost like a weird roguelite element in a way.
I always felt
people hate when you say that.
Yeah, but because it's not exactly to what it means, but I personally like the way Resident Evil does it. I don't know what the difference is though. I think Resident Evil is more, as you say, centralized in certain spots where you just go out and explore a little bit. For Silent Hill, it's more expedition based, where you just have specific spots every once in a while. I don't know.
Yeah, because in Silent Hill, more of a progression through a linear area, more or less, as opposed to like Resident Evil has its roots in being in a singular mansion that you're opening doors of over time.
Yeah. It's more contained, I guess, Resident Evil is. And also the zombies don't respawn, if I remember correctly.
Oh, do enemies respawn in Silent Hill after you kill them?
In the first
that's
one,
actually a huge pet peeve I have of older games is respawning enemies. It's such bullshit, man. Especially if it's one of those old like NES games
side
where
scrollers,
like
so they respawn off camera.
Yeah, or like the gameplay is like you pick up something and throw it at an enemy, and like that's how you kill them because it's like a really
the thing
really
you
bad
throw
game.
Doesn't come back.
The thing you throw doesn't come back, but the enemies do, and you're like, what the fuck? How do I do anything?
The go-to example of like that going to shit was in the original Ninja Gaiden has this one jump where in order to make the jump, you have to somehow deal with the fact that there's also an enemy in the jump arc. But you can literally attack him and then mid-jump have him respawn because of how the camera works. And he'll still be there to attack you. And like you literally, I just killed this guy and in the middle of the jump I'm killing him for, he's coming back because the camera slightly went past his spawn point. And it's like a nightmare.
Oh boy.
That's right. I remember that from a speed run. I think I saw that happen to somebody and he's like, no,
It's like a super specific, like infamously like nightmare moment in a level because it's just it can't be working as intended.
Yeah, well.
It's just a nightmare.
It is. They just didn't give a shit back then.
Yeah, people cared less about making games back then. Like there was a period of time where you would just finish the project and it was such a short project in many cases that it was just kind of it was just what it was. Like people oftentimes didn't even know what the right way to do stuff was in many cases, and so they would just put stuff in places like somebody playing with the level generator.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if you really think about how like the levels are structured in a lot of old games, it like makes no fucking sense, especially if they're platformers.
I think it's part of why Mario stood out so much early on is there was such a horrifying amount of thought put into their level design all the time.
Yeah. Even like in the like they had like really cohesive things that are like really kind of primitive and taken as obvious to us now.
Yeah.
But like things like they had like the very first screen, for example, is totally taught to teach you that touching the mushroom is good and touching the Goomba is bad. And like it's so well done that nobody realizes that they put a huge amount of thought and design into that specific moment.
Specifically because nobody had done it before. And just they have to come up with that sort of stuff.
Right.
You had to tutorialize through play because putting text everywhere would just make it would actually have trouble fitting on the disc.
On the disc, yeah.
That's why Wasteland 1, like whenever you got to story stuff, it'd be like, now refer to the manual to find out what this guy's saying in the story because we can't fit it in the game.
Right. They did do that back in the day.
There was an era in video games where text was too much data.
Yeah, you had to like flip to a manual to read the story. Can you
imagine a BioWare game existing in that era?
Planescape Torment just ships with a goddamn like book that's like 3 inches thick.
I'm just imagining a BioWare game being a choose your own adventure book, like novel sized one that also just comes with a video game as a screensaver.
As a screensaver, right?
So you'd spend so little time looking at the screen at that point because of all the text you have to read in your book.
That wasn't the biggest problem though. Back in back in the day, there were even, I'm talking the 80s. I wasn't alive at the time, but like 70s, not so much 70s, but 80s, they had copy protection in the books.
Oh, yes.
And then everybody just figured out just copy, photocopied or Xerox the books. And then they made like special lenses that you had to look through.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I think Might and Magic had this.
DRM's not new.
I had what was it, DuckTales? Like, this really old, like, Disney game where what you had to do was open up the manual and then pull out, like, this decoder thing that was, like, this really dark red sheet of paper. And you'd, like, put it over the manual and it would, like, highlight certain words. And then you'd type that code in and then the game would let you continue.
Oh, but that one is easy.
That one was easy.
I know of one that you need to put it over the TV, but I don't know which game it is. But it's like a decoder. You put it over the TV, and because
it
of the way
doesn't even work on like new TVs.
It doesn't even work
too.
Exactly. the problem is old
now.
TVs. Yeah, it doesn't. It only works with CRT and all this sort of stuff. It's just
What was the latest that kind of thing happened? Was it like Metal Gear 1? Like, in order to continue the story, look up Meryl's codec number in the manual.
As a kid, I never questioned that. Well, I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird that you had to like pull open the manual, but I was just like, whatever. I guess this is what I just thought it was like a weird
what
joke.
the game is for.
Yeah.
But then now I realize that was actually just to prevent people from stealing their shit.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Although with the other part, like they also have you unplugging PlayStation controllers to continue a boss fight, so he might have just been having fun for the sake of it.
That's what I thought.
Or maybe even satirizing it on some level.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's
in a
like
weird
kind of what my
Fractions
thinking was. Yeah.
Are you talking about
when are you gonna play Frog Fractions, Keith? Not Keith, Wander.
Don't mention that game. I'm gonna waste my time again.
I don't know. Someday.
There's always tomorrow.
I'd like to, but
not in Wonderland.
Put it off forever.
Wonderland is covered in games.
Mm-hmm.
Never put off anything for tomorrow that you could put off for the day after tomorrow.
I'm good at that.
Did everyone get their pet peeves? I didn't. I never mentioned one actually. I hate padding, like severely hate padding in video games. When a game has finished iterating on its ideas and then just create 17 rooms of consecutive repeat of the existing idea instead, I get really displeased very quickly. And so like that's for me lately, and people have been arguing with me about this lately, but it's my opinion to stick with, I guess, is that I've been playing through Neo, and as I think I mentioned this last podcast, like the way it contrasts against Dark Souls is that when you play a Dark Souls game, very consistently, all 5 Soulsborne series games have all been so good about pacing, like almost horrifyingly good at pacing. Like you go through the stuff and like they will just use a thing in like 3 ways, and like that's our ideas, and then they move on with their lives, and you go on to the next area, and like they so rarely waste your time without some form of iteration on their ideas. And so like the games are surprisingly short, especially when you played them before and you're replaying them. But they're so cool to explore for that reason. Whereas Neo, once you're like a third of the way through the game, every level starts to feel like the same level, or and sometimes is literally recycled versions of the same level played backwards. And you just are fighting the same enemies in the same context. Like they're not even like remixing their placements and groupings to make them interesting. Like being like, oh yeah, well you've never seen this combination of enemies before. Like that's not happening. And it's just more game for the sake of it. And that's a bummer. Like I play I'm disappointed when I play a game like every game I've played so far in the Tales series, where every time like they have all this attention to like their story arcs and their character interactions and all their skits, and so much writing goes into those games. And the boss fights every single boss fight is a unique character model you've never seen before, and that in itself is a cool detail. But every dungeon is like one room repeating over and over again, as if they had a quota to make it exactly like 90 minutes long or something if you play through it from front to back.
I have no idea where that even came from them, because like I played Symphonia and the dungeons were all unique.
Yeah.
With like interesting puzzles and whatnot. And I got to Zestiria and I'm just like, that's it? Yep. Really?
Yeah, Tales of Zestiria, Tales of Berseria, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Persona 4, like every dungeon would be one hallway or room repeating or alternating just over and over again for like 90% of the content. And I'm like, but this is the
that's
body
bad.
of the game. Like, I get at least in JRPGs, the fighting takes place in an alternate reality where you do a turn-based fight thing that's separate from the level design. But, like, you want to have a level to explore. You never want to have that Pokemon problem where you're walking through a nondescript cave and you have a random encounter, and then you're like, oh crap, which way was I going? Because everything looks the same, and then you go back out the entrance of the Pokemon cave, and you're like, what? No, I have to start over.
Wow.
I couldn't tell where I was going.
You described a problem that I forgot that I ever had.
Yeah.
But what a problem it was.
When your content is so nondescript, you literally can't tell when you get turned around. Like, that's such a bummer to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that actually ties it. Keith, you asked me before we started the podcast if I had something to talk about, and I didn't, and then I thought of something, cheating in video games.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up when you talked about save scumming. I was going to transition to that, because you and Wander can get along with this. Like, when you have the moment of, like, I'm not quite having fun with this game, so let's flip that switch there, and now it's this game.
Exactly.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I will cheat flagrantly if it means actually enjoying myself.
More fun. Yeah.
Well, like, with Dark Souls 1, we were cheating up constant humanity because, like, I don't want to, like, suddenly have our co-op series dry up because we're totally out of humanity. I guess let's go to a bunch of...
Just, like, grind for fucking humanity for, like, 45 minutes just to
that's
try
what happened to our Bloodborne series. Again? We literally ran out of the currency you used to summon each other.
Yeah, they fixed it. Eventually.
I'm a very busy man. I don't got time for that shit.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think games are such a complex medium that parts of it you might enjoy and other parts you don't, but they come as a full package. Yeah. If you're given a choice to just toggle God mode, and that's how I got through Skyrim the first time I played through the game.
Yeah, like people balk at it, but there's a reason why narrative difficulty was added to Mass Effect 3, because some people just want to kind of sleepwalk through the combat and get back to the part that everyone actually buys Mass Effect for.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was actually talking about this in your Discord earlier today about, like, I kind of think there should probably be, like, a casual mode for the Dark Souls games. Because...
I don't know.
Well, no. Like, we're playing co-op together for Dark Souls. That is casual mode to me, because I don't need to think or try as hard. And for me, it's an enjoyable experience, whereas playing Dark Souls solo is kind of just a lonely, and, like, it is a rewarding experience, but I don't have the time or the, like, maybe not mental capacity for that, but, like, I just don't want to put forward the effort to get the same experience that Keith gets out of it, because I don't enjoy that as much. You know, stuff like Rain World is a rare experience for me.
I'm so into it.
Yeah, I know.
I think that the whole point of Dark Souls, though, is that, like, if you go it alone, it's unnecessarily hard.
Yeah,
like, in a weird way, I think it's a game about friendship.
But, like, there are people that, like, can't get that experience because they don't have, you know,
friends?
people that would play it with them and stuff like that. Yeah, like...
That was sad.
That's why it's
for Dark Souls?
Yeah.
That's why it's so popular on YouTube, because people don't want to play through it, but they still want to enjoy it.
That's actually true.
Someone made a really strong argument at some point that, like, Dark Souls is all about this sense of camaraderie under like fire, basically. Because even if you don't have friends to co-op it with, like, the game is built around other people helping you beat it. Via there's messages all over the floor that are both reliable and unreliable. There's people who you can have summon into your game to help you. There's even a covenant based around defending you when someone invades you. And then there's, like, this inherent vagueness to all the mechanics that encourages people to connect to each other online and create these shared resources, which is why Dark Souls has, like, the most comprehensive wikis I've seen for most games that aren't, like, I don't know, Pokemon or something. Like,
that's actually 100% my takeaway for the game, is that it's about that shared camaraderie.
Yeah, like, it's a game that the community beats, basically.
Yep.
Even if you play it alone.
It's kind of like golf. You're playing the course.
Yeah.
Not the people.
At some point, while playing through a Souls game, you look something up. There's some detail you need to find externally, to the point where every game has a borderline impossible to find hidden area that most people end up like finding, because they're like, oh, well, there's a list of bosses and I haven't found them all. Where are they? Like the was it it's like the equivalent of, like, Ash Lake in Dark Souls 1, where you had to beat down multiple hidden walls to get to a place, or, like, the weirdness that is
I never would have found Ash Lake.
The garden, the Mad King's garden or whatever in Dark Souls 3.
Champion Gundyr in 3, or what is it? The there's some really weird stuff in 2 also, but like
oh yeah, there is.
Like I can't even remember it right now, but in Bloodborne at some point you have to find an invitation somewhere, then take it to an obscure crossing somewhere else in the map, and it takes you to an entirely unique environment that's like instanced off from everything else in a way that makes it feel like the Artorias of the Abyss DLC for the first game, and it's just in there, just waiting for you to not find it.
I think it's
one way to put it.
I think it's fantastic that there are still games like that, because that's such a old school sort of way of making games, I think, because that's inherently around, it's as you say about sharing knowledge of the game, but it's also about replaying through the game so many times that you just, on your 30th pass through the game, you just let me try this, and you find something completely new.
Yeah, it brings back the schoolyard chats, basically.
Yeah,
it does,
if you hold your Game Boy upside down and you mash the B button, you can get a 70% increased chance of capturing Mew.
Yeah, it's just
everyone had dumb stories about how.
Shit! I'll be right back.
Everyone had dumb stories about stuff you could do to your Game Boy to somehow increase your chance of catching things when you throw the Pokeball, and none of them were true.
Down B.
I still do that.
I still do that. It gives me something to do, man.
I would roll the D-pad while holding A or something like that.
Because what are you going to do? Not do that? Like, you're just going to watch it? You freak? No. Down and B. Roll the D-pad.
Yep.
The only thing that worked was blowing on the cartridge. That's the only one that everybody knew instinctively.
It's so bad for your cartridges, though.
No, I think it actually. I don't know if it didn't work.
No, it's really bad.
It didn't work.
It's
not
work,
good for your.
But it's bad for them.
No, rust them.
It rusts the contacts.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't work.
No.
What does work is actually you taking it out and putting it back in, because it gets the schmutz off of the connections. And so everybody always thought it was, blowing on it, but in reality, it's just the taking it out and putting it back in that does the trick. Unless, of course, you actually have crap in there, at which point you dirty animal.
That was universally everyone's solution still. Like, everyone, independently. In the pre-internet world, everyone tried that same solution.
But that's normal. I mean, blowing works for everything. Is it too hot, the food that you're eating? Blow on it. Oh, does it hurt? Blow on it.
It's a natural way of trying to clean out a thing that's a cavity that you can't reach with anything.
Exactly.
I like to use my NES to hold my sandwiches between games. I'm going to play Super Sandwich World.
That reminds me of when games became digital only and people could just not buy discs anymore. Like, there was all those like cup holder jokes about the disc tray in consoles now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Did anyone have a Steve to voice? I don't remember if we got through everyone.
I
think we got through all of them.
Yeah.
I hate video games in general.
Yeah.
That's your pet peeve.
The problem is that they exist and they just stop.
Problem is I would like for them to not exist anymore.
Can you imagine,
any more questions?
Can you imagine a game without a world without video games? Because the internet in itself is so. I mean, the people that made the internet were geeks. They are the ones that created video games. The internet exists because of video games for a lot of part. It's porn half, and the other part is video games. But
I think the internet exists because they wanted to make missile launches go smoother.
Well, that's the origins, but MMOs played such a big part in developing the internet as we know it today, because they exist previous to the internet. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I should look into this, I guess.
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
Back, I think I don't know names, but I think it's back in 1992 or something. There was one in particular. Was it EverQuest? Was it Neverwinter?
I don't know. I'm not surprised if there is like a story out there of somebody developing some key internet technology that was optimized towards a smooth video game experience, but I haven't heard of that happening.
But not just the internet, even computers. Like a big reason why we got MP3s and stuff like that was because of video games. There's a lot of advancements that just are made because there exist video games. It's a very important part of the world that, it's hard to know if you don't know that bit, but they...
Well, I mean, that may be true, but we should also delete all video games.
Okay.
Control-A, delete. Done. Got it.
Shift delete.
I went to the Wikipedia page and I deleted video games.
Oh no, now I'm banned from Wikipedia.
Oh no. All right, Kaylin Demazier asks, dear members of the podcast, have any of you ever read comics, DC or Marvel? And if so, which ones? Where'd you start? And what is your favorite one or your favorite series? He also asked for advice on how to get into comics, but I don't know if anyone of us will have that kind of answer for them.
I have no idea.
I'm a huge comic book nerd, and I'm like super burnt out on them, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the main trick with comic books is you figure out what publisher you like the most. Like there's only a couple of publishers out there, and like generally they all kind of publish similar stuff. Like Marvel and DC are very much about the syndicated, repetitive kind of stuff, and they don't really have much. They don't really have much variety with their content after a while. But they're probably the easiest to get into. Dark Horse
tends universe, so we can tell the same story again.
Yeah. Dark Horse generally has the better comics, quote unquote, mainly because they tend to have like beginnings, middles, and ends. And so it's kind of like it really depends on what you're into. I like Marvel for a lot of reasons, but no hundreds of beginnings and no real ends. But a lot of the comic sites nowadays, or the comic companies, have like access to the online archives that you can buy into for really cheap. Like I know Marvel's $10. I think DC's $10. I don't know if Dark Horse has anything like that. And obviously,
does that let you just burn through the whole backlog or something?
Sort of.
Good luck doing that, though.
There are limitations.
You have access to them at least.
Yeah. Yes. So, like, if you wanted to go read every single,
X-Men,
if you wanted to read every single,
there's so many.
Yeah,
there's so many. Especially in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to read every single Spider-Man, pretty much everything. The exception is they don't have like more recent comics, if that makes sense. Like if you're looking for like last month's,
right,
then you're supposed to buy it.
Yeah, then you have to buy it, and they will sell it to you through those sites too. But yeah,
Dark Horse.
There's supposed to be a really weird thing going on right now with comics modernly, especially with Marvel, especially because they are now owned by Disney. And what's going on now with Marvel Comics specifically is that they don't really care how well they do, and they just throw ideas around, because basically at this point, the Marvel as a whole, so much of their money comes from comics, so little money comes from comics that they don't really care anymore. So they just throw ideas around just to basically workshop future movies. And that's basically the entire point of comics now for Marvel, is that they're just a subsidiary of being a future movie script.
Wow. I don't know about Dark Horse. I mean, I'm from Portugal, so comics are going to be different here. But the only American comics, apart from Calvin and Hobbes, which I really love, the only
Asterix and Obelisk.
I don't know that reference, but I read it in Portuguese though. But the only one that I read was in actually a Spanish translation of The Dark Knight Returns. And I'm looking it up, and it's from Frank Miller, which I recognize the name of.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns is great.
Yeah. I love that one. That was amazing. But I never got anything like it, because the European comics are different, just fundamentally different. Even serials are... It's completely different, I find. I'm a big fan of Blake and Mortimer, but that's... I don't know if it's still going, but it's old school stuff here from France. I think actually that's from Britain. But if you're touching on what you're saying, Wonder, the problem is there's so much to read, but if you stick with the clothes stuff, because the Dark Knight Returns it's just a single story. It's there. It's all there from start to finish. If you stick to that and you just want to start somewhere, I think I find that that's a good place to start. If you can then, proceed with your hobby of reading comics, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, for me, I've got super limited exposure to superhero comics because of the daunting nightmare nature of them, and because their continuity gets so convoluted that they always inevitably lead to something very stupid happening in the story as a result of its own continuity. Like the
Eldritch gods, always.
Especially when people do an idea and then like that idea is not popular, so they have to retcon the idea with really bad ideas, like the Spider-Man clone saga.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Which was a thing that happened. So for me, my superhero comic exposure is a standalone spin-off compendium type things like Old Man Logan. But by and large, I only really like to read instead non-superhero comics that are standalone books you just get as a single thing and it's over forever when you're done with it, like Scott Pilgrim or V for Vendetta or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the only long-term comic I read is Walking Dead. And it's just a weird story, and I just can't stop following it because it's. I think I've talked to you guys before about what I like about Walking Dead over like normal zombie stories. Is that like it's like the Mad Max of zombie stories, because instead of like every zombie movie ever is like, here's the apocalypse happening. Will they survive these like 3 days after everyone becomes zombies? And then the credits roll when everyone dies or some magical cure happens or they escape the city or something like that. But in Walking Dead, the main character is in a coma during the outbreak and wakes up after it, and the entire story for years and years is exclusively not the part that you hear in every other zombie story. And it's this Mad Max style, like the world's down, and it's just people surviving this apocalypse for a ridiculously long time.
I can totally relate with that appeal. That's one of the reasons why I love Fallout so much. The original ones were a little bit stronger on that one. Just it's about the new world, not the old one. But it's still pretty cool when you go back and just see what was lost every once in a while. I don't have experience with the Walking Dead though, so I can't really say. But yeah, just people surviving in a new reality. I can relate to that.
There's also like webcomics and stuff like that, but they kind of come and go, and it's very hard to. I don't know.
Now webcomics are a place to look for strange long-term comics.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there are some really good webcomics out there. It's just the problem is since they're always done by self-employed
labor of love type of thing.
Yeah, it's labor of love, which results in.
Which means they never want to put out pages till they're totally done, and you get like 12 pages of lackadaisy a year.
Yeah, well, lackadaisy is was always kind of a special exception just beyond that, but
how ridiculous is its modern art? Oh my god.
Absurd. Yeah, lackadaisy is amazing.
Lackadaisy is like one of the best drawn comics I've ever seen, period, let alone just on the internet. But right up there is Kill 6...
right, it's this thing. Yeah. Oh my god,
and
then things always look good.
Right up there with Lackadaisy is Kill 6 Billion Demons. Is a ridiculous webcomic with an insanely convoluted, like self-important story of this entire world realized by its author and crazy art style, and it just keeps going. Like you go to the internet for labor of love stuff that no publisher is going to like mandate where storylines go or care about like what's popular with the audience, and like just wacky stuff will start happening, but it might never get finished because it's one person making a thing.
Oh jeez. Yeah.
That's the trade-off you get.
But then again, the never get finished. That's not really a problem that's exclusive to webcomics. You have that everywhere else.
Prequel Adventure hasn't updated since October 31st. I should message Kazarad.
Yeah,
dude.
I was gonna go check that out, and he.
Oh crap!
Which comic?
And Prequel Adventure. It's Bird's friend actually.
Yep.
Has a comic. And it was a comic that I read for a while up until his updates started getting a little bit smart. Yeah. It's based on Morrowind, right?
Yeah, Oblivion.
Oh, was it Oblivion? Okay, it was hard for me to remember. Oh god,
talk about labor of love. It's an animated comic.
Yeah,
it's Homestuck inspired.
Oh boy.
It's actually not bad. Like,
it's decent, yeah. I'm really proud of him for doing it.
Like a little bit cringy or anything like that, but it's actually like a really solid thing. The only notable exception is
he hasn't updated since October 15th, 2015.
Let's see if we can make the 2 years. He hasn't updated since like a couple months after Colonel started his channel. For just context of like age.
I killed him. I killed his work.
You are him.
Good job.
Oh,
good job.
Somebody had to do it eventually. He'll appreciate me saying that. We were really close, but I haven't spoken to him in like a couple of years now. I got very busy with school and just kind of fell off that radar. So I got 5 minutes.
I think
Anything to wrap things
we're
up with?
ready to close it.
Yeah.
It's like 2 a.m. in the morning
another
for
Wander
Colonel.
farting story, or do we want to end on something better?
I mean, not Wander farting story, but I've been going to the gym daily for the past like 2 weeks now.
Yeah, how's that working out for you?
I'm so hungry all the time now, and it is
you're so hungry that you ate Shell. That's why she's not here.
Like yesterday,
you should probably explain why Shell's not here. I forgot to ever bring that up 2 hours ago.
Yeah, good point.
Shell's at Toricon, anime convention in Rochester. Where
conventions, you guys go to like 3 of those a month.
Meant it was about like Hebrewism.
How many conventions do you guys go per year?
We used to go to like 6. But since we moved to Kansas, we've kind of rolled that back. It was a lot easier when we were in college because one of our friends literally, like, that was how she makes her living, and that's how she paid her way through college. And she did, like, you know, sexy anime boys kissing and stuff like that, and like, there's a huge market for that. And so she would just make, you know, the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars doing that. And we just kind of follow along, you know, watch her table, and maybe sell, you know, a couple $100 worth of random artwork / like Pokemon buttons, because we're both really good at drawing like adorable Pokemon, which is comically easy. But now we've just
given them
brought
Disney
it back
eyes.
down to 2. Yeah. But so we went to the one locally here, which actually made Shell like $2,000, which she was surprised by because she was like really nervous about it. Because for the most part, we were always just riding this other girl's coattails. So suddenly, like, we're kind of off on our own here, and so we weren't really sure if like we were going to be okay or not. And then Shell's making bank. But yeah, so she's at Toricon, which is in Rochester, New York, and because her parents live there too, so it's like super easy to justify going.
Well, you know, let Shell know that I wish her a happy Sabbath. You know, shalom and all that, and hope she has a good Toricon.
I was gonna play Doom today, and I forgot. Felt bad about that.
What?
You know, playing like a game about shooting
Doom
demons on
like,
Easter.
Eastery?
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
I can think of nothing more Eastery than like, oh yeah, happy Easter, everybody.
Let's play Doom.
But not Colonel RPG, because his Easter's already over.
Does it work out?
Yeah,
well, timing, I guess, yeah. Time zones.
Yeah.
Well,
I managed to eat a whole box of Ferrero Rocher, and in like 6 hours. I showed it actually earlier.
Oh man,
that's why I'm not going to leave it to be 150. It's rare, so it shouldn't be much of a problem. I don't eat. I do like my sweets, but I don't eat them too often, so it's not too bad.
That's good, because if you kept that up, you would be the next Wilfred Colonel RPG.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so to close this out, you can find the audio version of this podcast at soundcloud.com/4nerds. You can send us questions at fournerdsquestions@gmail.com. If we haven't answered it yet, we may in the future. We definitely have a bit of a backlog. You can find my channel at youtube.com/SebastianSB. Wanderbot is at /Wanderbots with an S. Birdcatcher is Birdcatcher Games, and Colonel RPG I don't think has a custom URL, but there'll be a link in the description, or you can search Colonel RPG.
It's Colonel RPG Gaming.
Yeah.
Because
damn, you have your shit together tonight, Keith. Good job.
I was opening tabs and prepping things. You said it's Colonel RPG Gaming?
Yeah, it's weird. YouTube.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
All right. But yeah, thank you all for watching tonight. So
thank you very much for having me.
Thank you in the future.
And if you subscribe to me and Wander and Colonel RPG, then you can get approximately 20 videos about RPGs per day.